In a galaxy far, far away, there exists a group of fierce and fabulous women who are on a mission to explore the depths of pop culture. They are the Galactic Gals, and they are here to take you on a journey through the cosmos of entertainment. From the latest TV shows and movies to a trip down the Milky Way of nostalgia, they will delve into the worlds of fantasy and imagination, bringing you insights and analysis that are out of this world. So buckle up, cosmonauts, and get ready to blast off with the Galactic Gals Pop Culture Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to Galactic Gals, episode 25, I believe.
26. 26.
Okay, 26. And we're and I don't know. Yeah, all right. Rock and roll.
I'm not going to stay this way long because I don't like wearing them.
My glasses are fogging up, so
Yeah.
I'm like, this is fun. This is going to be real fun because I'm like, what does that say? Yeah, I'm live from John Wayne Gacy's basement. It looks like back here, or an outcut of Eyes Wide Shut. I don't know, but yeah, it's Halloween. It's Halloween Eve weekend.
Yeah.
So we're bringing the best list ever, which is the best horror and thriller, sci-fi horror list ever made. And I'm going to say that because I'm quite impressed with the list. It's very diverse, and diverse in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not diverse woke way.
No.
Yeah. So I was surprised by some of yours. And we talked about that before back in the waiting room or the green room, whatever we call it. And like I said, I was like, wow, there's some great ones on here. Not that I didn't think you'd pick something out, but I know you're not as much into horror as I am. But yeah, I'm excited.
Now I can breathe.
I like that. That was cool though. That's like it's like Sons of Anarchy or something.
Yeah, that's what I would wear when we had to wear them, back during that thing. So I'm like, and I would wear the shmee thing or whatever that you put over your head, and just all you could see would be my eyes. You could have seen the stares we would get.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Hey, I'm complying. You can't say shit.
Well, I'm definitely not wearing this later to my massage. They would be think, okay. Yeah, not gonna do that. In fact, like I love this is great. I have to put my glasses underneath it, so it's like it's a nice foggy, sheen, which is great. That's gonna be great for the stream. But we got some news about Doctor Who. We finally got something. After waiting and waiting and waiting, we have the dates for the episodes. So the Star Beast is appearing on November 25th, while Blue Yonder is December 2nd, and the Giggle December 9th. Why do I want to call it the Giggler? Like, why do I want to call it that? It just sounds like the Giggler would be.
Maybe thinking of the Riddler.
Probably. Oh, I know, because there's this really annoying girl at my job that like laughs, and it's the worst laugh ever. And like I've made her a villain name in my head called the Giggler. So anyway, enough about that. But yeah, so these aren't the premiere dates for, I don't think, Disney Plus. This is just for I guess the BBC iPlayer or the BBC Live. So as far as when they're gonna be put on Disney Plus, I have no idea. So we'll if we'll find out, we'll let everybody know. But onwards and upwards.
Yeah.
And we're gonna start with you.
Yes, Poltergeist.
Yes.
Just watched this the other day. I had to go and find it. It's like, okay, I'm gonna sit here and watch this, and I was drinking whatever I was drinking, and I'm like, okay, this isn't so bad. And then I remember all the creepy portions of it. And the one that stands out to me is either the pork chop or the steak or whatever the hell piece of meat he was eating, and with all the maggots and shit.
Oh yeah. I forgot that.
And my favorite line, they're here. And I had no idea that was Craig T. Nelson playing the dad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, gee, and it's a really interesting story. I watched that back in the 80s on Laserdisc, if that tells you how old I am. and we went over to a friend's house like after school and watched it, and a bunch of us, and it was good fun back then. So yeah, this house is clean. No, it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, and she was creepy just in her. I mean, she's supposed to be the good guy, right? But she's creepy.
Yeah.
Little old lady's just like.
Yeah, the
I'll take
pool.
the chances with the poltergeist lady. You're creepy, says the woman in the mask in a dark bedroom with the red light. But yeah, so this movie has a lot of creep factor for sure. As clowns.
Yep.
Live.
Yeah.
Basically, Joe Beth Williams' character, I believe, gets sexually assaulted by a ghost. And then comes in and tries to kill one of the kids. Is it the older sister or is it the young boy?
Well, the young boy, it tried to suffocate him.
Oh.
Yeah. That stupid, creepy clown. I mean, now my number 2 son, he'd have already shot the thing and dismembered it. He cannot stand clowns to this day. And the tree.
Yeah.
How many of you guys have ever watched a thunderstorm at night and you look at the trees and you see the trees different than you do during the day? And sometimes it looks like they're monsters in the trees, or they become monsters,
Or you put a jacket on the back of your door and you turn out the light and it looks like somebody's standing there.
Yeah. And, after watching that movie, I mean, you go to get in your bed and you like jump on the bed from 9 miles away, because you don't want to put your feet next to the bed. It just, it's.
But Retro Doc says, but none of the ghosts look like actual Indians. Would you really have watched that? I mean, that would have been just stupid.
Yeah.
Really
but I mean,
stupid.
The land developer, I mean, he had to be stupid. All he did was move the headstones and left the bodies. I mean, that's just, That's bad juju all the way around.
Oh yeah, no thanks. No thanks. I haven't seen this in a few years, probably more than a few years, but I do remember seeing it as a kid, and that my parents thought, "Oh, this is PG. This is a great movie to show your 10-year-old." Yeah, it wasn't. But I was a scaredy cat back then, believe it or not. I was, but I was fascinated too at the same time. It's like, I'm scared to death that I can't sleep, but let's watch it again. I'm one of those. So yeah, it's, what would you give this on a scale to 10 of now you've had I don't know if you had these in order. This is number 10 on your list.
Yeah, I counted 10? Down. Yeah, I counted down.
Okay, so this is number 10. Mine are not in any particular order, but Michelle's are, and so this is the 10th, the number 10 on her list of horror movies. And I do have some facts about the movie, so we got you covered. Don't worry, Michelle. I know you're like, I don't know if I can remember everything. So the movie was initially supposed to be a sequel to Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind, but it developed into its own original story. Stephen King was asked to write the script, but he declined, and I'm glad he didn't. Honestly, it wouldn't have been the same. The neighborhood where the Freeling family lived was based on Spielberg's own neighborhood, but also he got inspiration, and I'm going to throw this out there. There was an Unsolved Mystery episode about one of the towns where I grew up, close to that, an actual neighborhood called Indian Shores, where it was built. The homes were built on, I'm not sure if it was Indian burial ground or it was a slave burial ground, but they had some really creepy things going on. And they talked about that on Unsolved Mysteries. I don't know if you've ever seen that episode. Go try to find that one. It's about the ones in the homes in Crosby, Texas. And so I thought that was, really kind of a cool, just on my own fact there. Drew Barrymore auditioned to play Carol Ann, but Spielberg thought she would be better suited for E.T., which came out 1 week after Poltergeist.
Okay.
The movie was directed by Toby Hooper, but Spielberg was on the set, often leading to rumors that he was secretly directing the movie himself. And this seems like a Spielberg-directed movie, not Toby Hooper.
Yeah.
The MPAA initially gave Poltergeist an R rating, but Spielberg successfully lobbied for a PG rating. The skeletons used in the movie were allegedly real, leading to some to believe that the movie might be cursed, and there's a lot of deaths.
Oh, yeah.
The Heather, what was her name? I can't remember her name, but she played.
Oh, the little girl. Yeah.
Yeah. And the teenage girl was murdered by her boyfriend. See, Heather O'Rourke, who played Carol Ann, died at the age of 12 of cardiac arrest and septic shock stemming from misdiagnosed intestinal stenosis before Poltergeist 3 was released. Dominic Dunn, which is the teenager who's actually related to Griffin Dunn, who played Dana, was murdered by her ex-boyfriend 5 months after the film's release. The word poltergeist comes from the German Poltern, to knock, and Geist, spirit. Many believe that even though Toby Hooper is credited, okay, we already talked about that, which it doesn't feel like a Toby Hooper film, to be honest with me. I think Toby Hooper directed Texas Chainsaw Massacre, if I'm correct.
Okay.
So it doesn't really feel like that, but again, he could have, but it definitely feels more like a Spielberg film, which I think everybody looks at it as a Spielberg film.
Yeah, and I'm glad Stephen King never wrote it, because it would have been, I think, more gory.
Absolutely.
And there was enough suspension of disbelief for this movie for it to keep its PG rating. I don't think there was anything R about it, really.
No.
No,
it's just creepy.
Yeah.
I think Poltergeist 2 is creepier because of the old man, but that's another stream.
Yeah, Tracy was telling me you got to watch the next one. I'm like, fine, we'll watch it.
Just watch it during the day because the old man's creepy.
Yeah, really. That's what he was saying. So,
all right. So this next one is an episode of a TV series, because where I allowed favorite scary episodes, and it's ironic that you picked this one because I wasn't an avid X-File watcher, but I did watch some episodes, and this was one I always remembered. An episode called Squeeze from 1993.
Yeah.
And so tell us about this episode.
Eugene Victor Toombs. He's this creature that survives, you know, and goes into hibernation, and he feeds every so many years, and he goes and he takes and he'll gets their livers or whatever to sustain himself, and he takes little trophies and all that, and he fixated on Agent Scully, and you know, he goes to her place and, you know, goes to kidnap her by coming through her little like vent there, and you got this, you know, full-size man squeezing through this like, I don't know, one by one, you know, hole there, and all to get to her. And you know,
I
Mulder comes
remember
in.
he had like some sort of like hideout, and it looked like it was just gross.
He would when they caught him, he would rip newspaper and lick it and start sticking it like paper mache.
Yeah,
you know, like making a cocoon, a chrysalis or whatever.
I remember now, and it stayed with me. And I wasn't like a huge X-Files fan, but this was kind of the last one that I watched. So that's why it's always kind of stayed with me. But it was funny that like this episode, Doug Hutchinson is just alone is just creepy anyway.
Yeah, the eyes. Yeah.
Well, no, just that. And I think he's the one that married the 16-year-old. I recall if that's the same actor that later married a 16-year-old, but I'm not judging.
I don't know.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe it's the same guy, but he looks a lot younger.
Yeah,
but
Gary said, there was a sequel. The sequel to the episode was good when he got crushed in the escalator. Yeah, I remember that.
I like that. Yeah. You know, we always say like that episode was good where he got crushed in an escalator. That was a good one. That was real good.
Yeah, it's a creepy episode. I mean, she was getting ready to take a bath and everything, and she put all her oils in there, and like, oh, you know, and there he was watching her. I mean, that voyeurism, that just creeps me out. You know?
Yeah, and he's just a creepy looking dude. Totally.
Yeah.
So here's some facts about Squeeze. Squeeze is the third episode of the first season of the American science fiction television X-Files, which we know. So Doug Hutchinson is the mutant serial killer Eugene Victor Toombs, a role he would reprise in Toombs. Squeeze is the first Monster of the Week episode of the X-Files and connected to the series' overarching mythology, coming after 2 episodes focused on the series' mythology or fictional history. Squeeze helped establish the show could cover other paranormal subjects, which I believe is what Chris Carter was trying to do, was to not just to be about aliens, which it says here.
Yeah. Great. And you throw your stuff on the floor.
Yeah, I just threw my water
but that's okay.
Yeah. It had a lid on it.
Yeah, so I don't know where I don't know where he got his ideas. He must have been smoking some peyote or something, but boy, his stories were intriguing. I'll give him that. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's an October baby anyway, so.
Well, I'm a November baby, so. Which we're probably the same sign, is what you're saying. Scorpio.
Could be.
Probably.
Could be.
My favorite X-Files is Darkness Falls with the green bugs. And I know how much you like bugs, so. Michelle.
Yeah,
that's your favorite thing. And let me say, I have a couple of episodes on here, but I did not choose the supernatural episode Bugs. I didn't choose that one. Sorry to disappoint anybody, but that one isn't on the list. Only because I'm not big on bugs. Bugs they're gross, but I don't know if it really bugs me, but roaches bug me, but I wouldn't have a problem killing any of them, and I'm not going to run screaming out of my house over a roach.
Oh,
unless it develops fangs or something. But
yeah. X-Files, it's a good series. There's a lot of different mythologies in there, Peter, and there's something for everybody in there, really. You know, you get the creepy episodes. They have one where they talk about the Jersey Devil, Mothman, all kinds of things. So
Yeah, I think he was trying to do something besides aliens, obviously.
Yeah.
Kind of bring in some more people because not everybody's into like abductions and things like that.
Right.
I think it's interesting, but some people wouldn't.
Right.
So this next 2 episodes are Twilight Zone episodes.
Yes.
So the first one you're gonna discuss is It's a Good Life from 1961, and then the second one is The Living Doll from 1963. So let's start with It's a Good Life.
Oh, that little boy there, Billy Mummy. Oh my word. He, they live in this town and everybody has to put on this fake happy smile and think good thoughts all the time. Oh, isn't that right? Can't remember the kid's name. And isn't that right, little Billy? Everything is happy-go-lucky. We're so happy the world's going to hell, but we're happy about it. And if you had negative thoughts or whatever, I mean, he'd make you go away. He would send you into the cornfield. The dog was barking at me and I didn't like the dog, so I made it go away.
I wish I could do that sometimes. I'll be honest. I like dogs, but there's this dog downstairs, and I'm just saying, I wish we had this kid right here. Like, can you make him shut up? Just bring him back. I don't think the dog needs to die or anything like that. I'm saying just make him go away for a little while, and then then bring him back, and he's a happy dog. That's all I want.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of a list of people, and I know right where I'd start. But
right.
But that picture on the top right, he's got the older fellow there playing the piano, and the kid just wants to listen to the music. And the other guy comes over and says, "Hey, how about we play this record? I want to listen to this record." And of course, he's drinking, and thoughts are going negative, and the kid ends up making him go away, and and the kid's distracted, and they're like, why don't you just somebody strike him on the head, knock him out, kill him, but they could never kill the kid. It's a creepy little episode.
And I believe this is the episode that they remade for the Twilight Zone, the movie.
My husband was telling me that. Yeah. That they remade it.
And I think most of the Twilight Zone, the movie, was just remakes from the original, which I like it for what it is, but I wish they would have done new stuff,
Yeah.
But yeah, I do remember this episode. And the left bottom, I believe that not Cloris Leachman.
I think so.
It looks like Cloris Leachman to me, but my glasses are fogged up, so who knows? But the other day, I when I was making the thing, it looks a lot like Cloris Leachman, and I'll have to look later. I haven't. That wasn't in my trivia, so I'm assuming it wasn't. But
yeah.
So here's some facts about the episode. It's a Good Life is the 8th episode of the 3rd season of the Twilight Zone and the 73rd overall. Mm-hmm. The episode was written by series creator showrunner Rod Serling, based on the 1953 short story It's a Good Life by Jerome Bixby. The episode originally aired on November 3rd, 1961, which was my birthday, except I wasn't born yet. Not that old. It's a Good Life is considered by some, such as Time and TV Guide, to be one of the best episodes of the series. The episode features a young boy named Anthony Fremont who has vast mental powers and holds his terrified family in thrall with every whim. The fear in the adults' eyes and voices were confirmed with unpredictable 6-year-old Anthony Fremont, and his mental powers is palpable. Mm-hmm. The episode's atmosphere of creepiness and dread is unequaled. Episode starred Billy Mummy, lost in space, as Anthony Fremont. Mummy's real-life daughter, Leilana Murray. Mummy played Anthony's daughter, Audrey, who even has more powerful than he is. I'm not sure, what they're talking about. Maybe it's a remake from a newer Twilight Zone. Okay. It's a Good Life has been ranked as one of the greatest television episodes in history, and the episode has been remade several times, including a segment in the 1983 Twilight Zone, the movie. So yeah, it's a good one. So if you just want to, and the neat thing about Twilight Zone, you don't have to watch them in order. You can just find an episode that's interesting to you, or you haven't watched and rewatch it. So, and I know some states they do Twilight Zone marathons during Halloween. Mm-hmm. Some do. We've had that here. Yeah. So, and so the next one is The Living Doll. Yep. And I don't remember this one. at all.
Oh,
But,
Telly Savalas
tell
is
us
the
about it.
dad. Yeah, Telly Savalas is the dad, and oh boy, he does a superb job acting in this. But the little girl, she's out with her mom, and she buys her this doll, and the girl just, the husband's mad because the wife spent the money on this doll for their daughter, and she doesn't need it, we need, money for this or whatever. But the kid's happy, and the dad doesn't like the doll. And he, the doll all of a sudden just talks, my name is Talkie Tina. I don't like you. I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
My number 2 son can't stand this episode because he's like, it's a doll, shoot it,
All right, just take it out. She's like the Twilight Zone version of Annabelle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She sleeps with the doll. He tries to burn the doll, and she blows the torch out. It just really freaky. It's a good little episode.
So they had a 1992 remake of Living Doll, which made for the updated Twilight Zone series, and the doll renamed Talking Tina. Why? I don't understand that. It's like, was it not called Talking Tina, or was it just called Tina?
I think it was Tina, original. Just Tina in the original.
I'm just like, wasn't it called Talking Tina? So Talkie Tina's, okay, it was Talkie Tina's. Talkie Tina's voice was provided by June Foray, who also voiced Rocky the Flying Squirrel, and Natasha Fatale on the Rocky and Bullwinkle show. So that explains why it's very annoying. Okay. In 1992, a remake of Living Doll was made for the updated Twilight Zone series, with the dolls renamed Talking Tina, where he said that. Why did I just read that? Don't know. It's this mask. Living Doll is considered one of the most memorable and frightening episodes of the series. They said that about the other episode. Everything is good from the Twilight Zone. The episode was written by Charles Beaumont, based on the short story "The Devil Doll" by Beaumont and Jerry Saul. That sounds like a really good children's bedtime story. The Devil Doll.
Yeah, really.
Get ready for bed, Timmy. Now we're going to read The Devil Doll. Great. My dad used to read me The Telltale Heart at bedtime.
Okay.
I'm almost thrilled. But I thought it was cool. So, yeah. So this was is another good one from the Twilight Zone. Twilight Zone is always good for Halloween. Always.
Oh, of course.
So here's another movie that we have, 2009 and Knowing, and I haven't seen this movie at all. So tell us about it.
Okay. Nicolas Cage is a teacher at MIT. I believe he's a physicist. And his kid there goes to an elementary school where 50 years earlier, there was another class and they had buried a time capsule. Well, there was a little girl in that class who creatures were talking to her, and they were all told to draw a picture and put it in a time capsule of what you think their future will be like. And she was just writing down a bunch of numbers and stuff on a piece of paper, front and back. And teacher said, bring it all up here. And the girl was still writing. And the teacher goes, grabs a piece of paper, and the girl is she's taking her nails and carving into the desk even more numbers. So they fold it all up, put it in the time capsule, seal it. 50 years later, the little boy, gets her paper, and it's all these numbers. And he's trying to figure them out, and then Dad takes a look at it. Dad goes back to his office, and he starts seeing a pattern. 9/11 is on there. The attack in Beirut in 1993 is on there. The floods in Thailand are on there. And he starts piecing all these things together. There's a really creepy scene where Nicolas Cage is on the freeway and traffic is stopped because of an accident. And he's trying to figure out, he's got this date. It says, today's date, 81 people are going to die. And it's like, okay, well, where and why, And then he goes up and is talking to the cop, and it's raining. And the cop's like, "Sir, get back in your car." And then you see the cop back away and his eyes get real wide. This plane is crashes right behind Nicolas Cage. It goes shoom this way, and he's freaking out and explodes. And you see people on fire and people screaming and everything. And then he puts it together, latitude and longitude. Anyway, he gets all this figured out, and he tracks down, he looks for the girl who wrote the story, or these numbers, and she ended up, I believe, killing herself. And her daughter, pictured in the top right, has the same ability too. Or she doesn't have the ability, but she's embarrassed by her dead mother's, behavior, and people would come and bug her and everything. And she inherited her mother's place, and she just wanted to be left alone, didn't want to have anything to do with it. Well, he befriends her, and they end up finishing this story together. They go to her house. He upends her mother's room, tears it all apart, and underneath the bed there's more numbers, and then it says something like everyone else. So this is an extinction level thing going to happen. And these voices that are whispering to her daughter and his son. And they're like angels. And they're saying, write this stuff down, and we can take you to a place where you'll be safe. And he ends up, doing what he has to do. I won't give away the rest of the movie. And it has to deal with solar flares, and
so it's like a disaster horror movie, basically.
And it is. It gets inside your head. It really gets inside your head. He ends up making up with his father.
Okay. Retro Doc says Nicolas Cage is a physicist, so science fiction then. Well, yeah. Don't suspect that Nicolas Cage is really maybe he is. I don't know.
I mean, it goes right along with him in The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Okay.
And he's good in that movie. But
it sounds good. It actually sounds like an interesting film. It seems like it's a little bit more deeper than some thrillers or horror movies, but
it is.
So Peter Harrington says Nostradamus vibes.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those end of world horror shows that is always good this time of year. Especially, let's watch it now with everything going on in the world. That is scary.
Yeah. Nicolas Cage in this movie, he lost his wife, and he doesn't want his son far away, won't let him go out on a boat, with friends or anything. I guess he doesn't want to lose his son, which I totally get.
Right, you would be like that. You would be very paranoid.
But he makes a choice in the end, and his choice is what I would choose exactly, no questions asked. So, and I'll leave you with that. It's an intriguing movie, worth watching.
So here's some facts. The plot involves the most fundamental of all philosophical debates: is universe deterministic or random? Is everything in some way preordained or happen by chance? Then Liam Hemsworth made his film debut in Knowing. I'm assuming he's playing the son.
I guess so. I never put that together. Well,
Knowing was filmed at Docklands Studio in Melbourne, Australia, using various locations to represent the film's Boston era setting. And Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times was enthusiastic about the film, rating it 4 stars out of 4 and writing, "Knowing is among the best science fiction films I've seen. Frightening, suspenseful, intelligent, and when it needs to be, rather awesome." So that's from Roger Ebert himself, saying that the film is worth the time, worth watching. So, and Roger Ebert suffers no fools. I will say.
Yeah.
He's pretty hard on movies, so it must be a decent one then. Way before the dark times, So the next one is one we both watched this week. This isn't my choice, but I watched it because you had put it on your list. And I was like, okay, time to revisit Cube. And I had the same horrible claustrophobic feelings I did when I watched it back in 1997.
Yeah. Yeah. And the only reason I watched that movie initially years ago, back in, I guess, the late 2000s, was because David Hewlett, he plays Worth in this. He's in there. And I was going and backtracking all his films. And so I started watching this, and it's, claustrophobic for sure. And very colorful. I mean, I'll give them that.
And just
colorful.
The idea that they don't know why they're there. It's like Saw in a cube, but it's less gory than Saw is. I mean, there's some gory scenes. I'm not going to lie. There's some disturbing scenes, especially the first, ironically, the guy, Richlings, who played Death in Supernatural, is the first one to go. He doesn't even utter a word, and he gets
sliced and diced.
And it is a very colorful movie, and it's a very well done movie. It's very claustrophobic, and it's much more of a it's a very dialogue heavy, especially that I've noticed in the red rooms. The red rooms is where everything happens that's negative, I noticed. Whether that they're arguing with each other, or I mean, the black guy's a cop. David
Hewlett, he's the creator.
Away. But not to give too much away. You find out that later. Like he's there. The girl in the dark hair, she's a mathematician, and the blonde is a doctor.
A doctor,
and they're all trying to get out of this cube. If you're not seeing it,
you had one guy in there who was a criminal. But
he was an escape artist.
Each of them have a different set of skills, and they have to work together. I mean, and each room may or may not have a trap.
Right.
It
is a ride, and who gets out is a shocker to everybody. At least to me, it was. But it's a deeper horror movie,
it gets in your head. It's a psychological thriller, I think. You get to see genius in one or two of the characters, and if you watch the movie, you'll notice it. It makes you look at certain people differently, because they do have abilities. I don't want to give too much away.
No, it's worth your time, and it's a Canadian film, and this is one of 3 that's on our list. This is the one that you chose, one Canadian movie. I have 2, and I have learned and remembered in the past 2-3 days that Canadians know how to make horror films. They truly do know how to make horror films. They really do. They get under your skin, literally.
Especially the director for this one, Vincenzo Natali. I think he and David Hewlett, they're really good friends and everything. And I want to say he did The Shape of Water, which won an Oscar for Best Picture. And David Hewlett therefore won an Oscar too. So, but I could be wrong about that, but I think so.
I've not seen The Shape of Water.
I have. It's really good. It's good.
I know it's not. Is it horror, or it's more like just a science fiction?
It's not a horror, more science fiction. It's about an alien, a woman, and the government. I mean, go figure.
Okay.
That
sounds like okay. Yeah, I can believe if there's something weird going on, I can believe the government's involved. I can believe that.
Always, yeah.
So here's some facts about the movie Cube. The set contained just one cube, which was changed to different colors by means of gel panels. Since it was a time-consuming process to change from one to another, the film was shot in sequence, rather color by color. The red gels were the first to be installed, meaning all scenes in red rooms were shot first, which is interesting because all the red room ones are very dialogue heavy, and they're very intense scenes. The movie's nonlinear narrative adds complexity to the story, keeping viewers guessing and engaged as they piece together the puzzle. it's a cult following. It has a very definitely cult following because it didn't do well at first. And I remember, I don't think it's on this list, but I did read that David Hewlett hated the Red Room scenes because they were so dialogue heavy, and the part where he's giving this really long monologue about what's the point of all of this, like why are we even trying to get out of here? There's no point. He said that it felt so good to say that line. I feel better now. Because he was just saying that, like, all that memorizing, because again, all the scenes in the Red Room were like dialogue heavy. And I'm taking this off. Hold on a second.
Yeah, you know, he's a fan of horror movies anyway. So I mean, you know, he's a sci-fi geek, you know, computer nerd himself anyway. So he loves horror movies. He's done several. He's got another one, Boa versus Python, about two snakes or something. I've seen it, I think, once.
Okay. Is there a reason you've seen it once? Is it just very disturbing?
No, it's not disturbing. It's just stupid. It's one of those stupid horror movies.
The Darren Zone has a recommendation. A Canadian horror film I can recommend is Pontypool. Okay. I'll check it out. I'm like I said, I've been reminded this week that Canadians know how to make horror. They really do. They don't mess around. They got some claustrophobic shit. For sure. And I was telling you in the back of in the green room, I was telling you that I felt like there was a point where I was getting agitated going, when is this going to end? And I didn't mean it like I didn't like the movie. It's because, like, oh my God, like how many cubes did they have to go in to get out? I mean, it's just like, you know.
Yeah, but you know, if you listen to the young girl, you know, and she's a math whiz, and it's like you really get the idea of how maths really can be, especially when it comes to cubes. Yeah,
dead. I would be so dead. Can you imagine? Yeah, I'd be like the guy in the beginning. That would be me.
Well, you know how the ending was, you'd be like, really? You mean that's all? I won't give it away for those who haven't seen it, but yeah. I mean, and it definitely is Kafka-esque. If any of you have read Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka, you'd get it. You really would.
No, I've not. But again, it makes you wonder because the guy at the beginning doesn't make it. You know, you're thinking, well, he was smart, because I mean, they got smart people. So when he died, like the first cube that he got into.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow, what was his skill? They never really talked about that, but interesting. They made 2 other movies. Didn't look good to me.
I haven't seen them. Yeah. I just have this one. So
yeah. All right. So we're going to talk about this movie. The original Pet Sematary, not the remake.
Yeah, I saw.
I'm assuming you meant this one.
Yes. Okay. The one with oh God, that old guy who was in
Fred Gwynn.
Yeah, him.
And Del Midkiff.
And Tasha Yar. She was in this one.
Crosby.
Yes. Crosby. Yeah. Denise Crosby.
Denise Crosby. Let's call Mary Crosby. Yeah. That's the woman that shot
the idea of taking your dead cat and burying it in an Indian burial ground, no thanks. That's just something you don't mess with.
No.
And the little kid Gage and the truck, and I'm like, oh God. I mean, I saw this in the movie theater. I went on a date to see this in a movie theater.
Oh. Whose idea was it? Was this your idea to see this?
No.
Or was it your date?
No, it was the dates. You know, I'm like, okay, I'll just go, but boy, you know, and that's one of the better ones for me. I mean,
yeah,
I know it's all make believe, but yeah,
it's really an intense type of show.
Yeah.
I remember I read the book back in the day. Of course, the book is always better,
of course,
but I think Fred Gwynn is the highlight of this movie.
Yeah.
And, you know, recently I'd watched Pet Sematary Bloodlines, and my thought was, why would you need a movie about Judd Crandall? And then I thought again, I'm like, why wouldn't you need a movie about Judd Crandall? Because if you think about it, he's the dude with all the information. He's the guy that's seen all this. You know, I kind of wish they would have had more of his like him being, I mean, he was involved, but it wasn't enough of that involvement of a character, because I thought he was one of the highlights of the movie personally for me.
But and that damn cat, Church, that gray cat. My husband has said his grandmother had a cat that was just like that and mean as hell, so he will not allow a gray cat like that in this house even today. He's like,
really?
Nope. Yep.
That's interesting.
He doesn't like them.
And there's a very Poe-esque feel, because there's a story called The Black Cat, which is very similar. The cat comes back. The cat kind of taunts its owners. And there's that feel to it that this movie and this story have. And I'm pretty sure Stephen King was probably inspired by that. But I do think that the Gage story was very sad.
Yeah.
And you're screaming at the TV, don't do it. It's not worth it. That's not going to come back. Yep. Sometimes dead is better.
Yes.
But they don't listen. And this is one of those movies that it has a very, very dark ending, that it's not a happy movie. It starts out happy, but it definitely doesn't end that way. And
it's, but I'll watch that one. Out of all the Stephen King films, I can tolerate that one more so than any of the others, I think. But for it being horror and gory, I can deal with it.
Yeah, there's some of that for sure. It's, I mean, obviously on the right hand side, that's a good indication.
Yeah.
Where the guy, he's trying to warn them not to do it. Of course, John Steed says Pet Sematary is one freaky film. Yeah, definitely. It's a definitely weird, freaky film. But I enjoyed the prequel about Judge Crandall that's on Paramount. I actually did enjoy Pet Sematary Bloodlines. It was actually okay. I got a low rating, but I thought it was watchable. And the guy that they got to play his part was very good, I thought. So, I mean, it's it's not a blockbuster, but it's definitely like a decent prequel to this, which we didn't ask for, but hey, if it's good, I mean,
so I mean, it's okay. I think it's one of, I think, his better ones.
Oh yeah.
I know that my son listens to a lot of Stephen King novels, and he might have seen, some of the movies too. And he always says the books are always better. So,
I mean, generally there's been a few that I've run across that I actually like the movie better, but it's really just very rare. So yeah, it says here that, Stephen King took significantly less money in front for the film rights to Pet Sematary that he had for previous adaptations of his work. Stephen King was too horrified to finish the book until contractual obligations forced his hand. So apparently this book really affected him. I really don't know of all the stuff he's written. I mean, there's some pretty horrific things that I would think would come that, but maybe it's because it deals with a child. Pet Sematary was director Mary Lambert's second feature film. She was better known for her work directing music videos, especially those for Madonna, including Madonna Material Girl and Madonna Like a Prayer. So there's some facts about that.
Okay.
So now we're to Doctor Who, some Doctor Who episodes. The first one is season 3, episode 10 in Blink, and the second one is season 7, episode 5, The Angels Take Manhattan.
Yeah. I remember after watching
I haven't seen
Blink.
What is this? Right?
Yeah. I mean, I'd go out and actually be looking for gargoyles or angels like that. And you can't help but kind of really pay attention as you walk by. I mean, the Weeping Angels, definitely by far the creepiest thing they have so far.
Yeah.
You know, and when they're in the house, I guess that old house, and peeling off the wallpaper and it says, "Don't blink, blink and you're dead."
Yeah.
And it's like, what the hell is that? You know, and they're having to piece stuff together, and man.
And this was a Dr. Light episode too.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in it, but it wasn't like he was the main focus. It was Sally Sparrow.
Yeah. And I always said she would have made a great companion.
I would have liked her as a companion. She seemed more like a classic Who companion, more than what they'd had to this point. I mean, even over Martha Jones, definitely over Rose Tyler, closer to a Donna like level, or I mean, kind of more like a Joe Grant, which I thought she did a really great job, but I don't think her career kind of exploded after this. She was in the Great Gatsby remake and a movie called Drive and some other films. So she kind of took off.
That's interesting. Yeah. But I like how the doctor has to leave clues, and her and her boyfriend, you know, have to figure everything out. And, you know, Martha and the doctor, they're stuck back in, I think, 1969, you know, and they're trying to get back, you know, to the current time, but he has to coach Sally Sparrow to get into the TARDIS, you know, and then it ends up going back and rescuing them. But I mean, quantum locked angels. And, you know, there's the theory that the Weeping Angels are actually Time Lords. I guess I don't know if we'll ever know. So
that would be interesting.
But I mean, the faces that they make and the teeth and everything. I mean, that was always.
You know, I really hope we never find out. That's what it's the cool
mystery.
About
yeah,
it. We don't know. It's like if they start revealing everything like this, they're the Time Lords. It's interesting. It's an interesting theory, but I just think if you start revealing so much, it takes the fear away.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, they're not ones that actually just kill you, but you know, the fact that you lose your life, you have to live in another time period. That is kind of creepy, and you can't get back. There's no way to ever get back. It's kind of a scary thought, you know, because you could be living today and then you could get sent back to the 1930s or 40s and have to, you know, live from there, you know.
Well, if I'm going to get touched by an angel, send me back to the 80s, because I'll take all my knowledge now and then come forward. I'll be okay.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Gary said, based on the short story Moffat himself wrote for a Doctor Who annual. Huh. See, I never collected the annuals, so I don't know what
I haven't either. So that's an interesting fact for sure.
Yeah, I remember driving around graveyards actually looking for little angels and everything, just to study them and look. So it just kind of, it's an interesting creature.
Once you see this episode or this Weeping Angels as you know, and you see statues of angels, you don't look at them the same way. Because John Steed was saying, I remember after watching Blink, there's a Weeping Angel statue in the local churchyard. It's funny that he references as a Weeping Angel statue. Maybe it was an actual Weeping Angel statue in the local churchyard, which made it more scary to walk through it afterwards.
Yeah.
So once you see it, it's like you can't go back.
Yeah, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
You know, and when you go to the one with the 11th Doctor, the Angels in Manhattan, you know, and you got the Statue of Liberty is one. It's like, oh, fuck that shit, you know.
Right, but it's weird because the Statue of Liberty isn't made of stone.
I know. And
so how did you what's going on with that, Moffat? You know, it's like but you know, I understood, like he felt like that was that's the scariest thing, you know, something that big. And I can relate with what he was trying to do. It's just like, but it's not stone.
Yeah. I mean, that was a sad episode anyway. Damn it.
It was.
Rory
it was
and
very
Amy.
sad. And like there's always that when you're watching this episode, what I noticed is like you're always like in the back of your head, even though you know it's not going to be that way, you're still hoping that everything is going to be okay in the graveyard. Like they're just going to like go on and go on more adventures, because there's that point in the where it looks like, okay, the episode's over, everything's fine, but you know that's what's going to happen, but you're kind of wishing that it wouldn't have gone that way to some degree. But I personally wish they would have been able just to live their lives. Like, why does everything have to be so like awful when you ride with the doctor at the end?
Yeah.
Especially in New Who.
Yeah, when she said, goodbye, Raggedy Man, and she lets the angel touch her and everything. And I mean, you see the doctor just break down in tears. I mean, that's so heartbreaking,
Yeah.
Oh,
I just want to know, like, I'm hoping going forward that they stop that thing where, like, when you ride with the doctor, that means something horrible you're going to end up somewhere horrible. Because I just think that in Classic Who, they did not do that as much.
Yeah.
They went home, they were safe, they lived their life, they had their memories of the doctor. But it's like in New Who, it's like, we got to, like, it's going to be bad. If you ride with the doctor, it's ride or die. And it's going to die.
I know. That's why these 3 upcoming episodes and knowing Donna, and it's like, oh God, please don't do that. Don't take that path.
I think if it was Moffat, I think we'd have to worry about something really weird happening. But again, RTD does it too, where it's just like, come on, like, why do we have to like have the companion end up like, you're supposed to make you're okay, or in a parallel universe, like trapped, or it's like you want to make the viewer want to ride with the doctor. You're not giving us incentive to want to ride with the doctor, if you know what I mean, even though I know it's fictional. Like, I really hope that they kind of stop that trend. And like, Martha was the only one that walked away.
Yeah. I guess because, she saw what he was capable of. And I think she's like, you know what? Nope, I'm done. I'm going to get out while I can. But then, she walked the year that never was, all for the doctor. So, I mean, she lived through that hell.
Richard Doc says, right, Moffat, because no one would be looking at a towering Statue of Liberty walking around.
I mean, that right there is freaky as hell.
Yeah.
God, with the pointed teeth.
Yeah. Yeah, Martha was lucky to get out alive. Yeah, that's my point. It's just like, these are good Halloween episodes because literally no one they get out alive, but they usually get out alive in just these horrible situations that they really just didn't count on. Yeah. Bill, I think, was one of the most. Bill and Donna are probably the most tragic.
Yeah.
But stop that trend, man. I just want to, I want to say, we don't have to have it just where it's heartbreaking every time they say goodbye to the doctor. We can have it where it was great riding with you. I'll see you again someday. Kind of like Sarah Jane. So I kind of want more of that. I want less of just, oh my God, please, because you get close to these people. You're watching the episode and you get close,
Yeah. Peter does make a point. The music in Blink is so melancholy, perfect. That's because Murray Gold wrote it. And I am looking forward to hearing what he's got to put out, for what we're going to get. So I'm really looking forward to that. Good parts and bad,
Yes.
Because he has a way with the melancholy music for sure.
Oh, yes, it will be. I'm looking forward to it. I think we're all looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Come what may, even we know that Donna may not make it, but I think she will. I think the doctor will probably sacrifice himself for her. But
that's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah. All right. So we're at the 1948 Legend of Sleepy Hollow. We're into a lot more like, it's creepy, but it's Disney creepy. When Disney wasn't creepy, like weirdo creepy.
Yeah. I remember watching this as a kid and being terrified of the Headless Horseman. And at the downtown library here in Nashville, they'll do with puppets the story of the Headless Horseman and everything. And I remember my kids saw it when they were little. But this story, you know, I rewatched it the other day, and I'm like, that's not how I remember it. As an adult now, you know, I see it differently. As a kid, you think the Headless Horseman's the bad guy. Oh no, he's actually the good guy. Terrifying, but a good guy. You have Ichabod Crane, who comes in and, you know, he falls in love with the beautiful girl there, but he really is in love with her money, you know, and that's what he's going after. And he tries to woo her and everything. And Bram Bones, who's the Headless Horseman, was been trying to woo her all along, but, you know, she would just kind of like turn her nose up at him, you know, and he got mad, and he finally found out Ichabod's weakness and everything, and he exploited it, and he exploited it very well, you know. And they say at the end of this cartoon, you know, that Ichabod, you know, happily married later on, you know, and then there's another version where, you know, where he just disappeared. But I've always loved that story, and it's, you know, based on the little short story by Washington Irving.
Yeah.
You know, but for it being a Disney cartoon, it was real Disney back then. There was no crap in it.
It was no wokeness.
Yeah. And it kind of parallels along the line of Beauty and the Beast, I guess. Like the Bram Bones, to me, as I was watching them, thinking, okay, well, that's Philippe Gaston, and that's the girl there's, you know, Belle. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, I see it now. But it's a cute little story.
Yeah, it's a nice, like, if you don't want anything like uber like scary and you just want to get the feeling of Halloween, this is a good one. You know, like there's a cute Halloween, and then there's the dark Halloween. You know, you can have different versions, and I think that that's great. You know, there's something for everybody to Halloween season to watch, and this is one of them. And it's a classic Disney before they started drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. And there's a scene in there that Wendy's talking about, where Ichabod's on the horse and they're running around the tree and chasing around the tree, and that's a funny scene. And
I do remember.
Yeah. And for the time, the animation was really great, superb. You know, I don't want to ever see a remake. You know, I'll leave it alone. Don't mess with it. It's perfect the way it is.
Right. So, I mean, they have versions of the story, but as far as this cartoon, leave it alone. They'll guarantee now you said that they'll do a live action one.
Probably.
And they'll make Ichabod Crane, you know, he'll be like, a black guy from Philly.
Yeah. And you cannot find this. You cannot find this on Disney Plus. On the Disney Plus channel, they have Ichabod and Mr. Toad. And it's not the same. And I've seen
that one too.
Yeah. It's just not the same.
So some fast facts here. The Horsemen may have fought for the British in the Revolutionary War. Composer Oliver Wallace recorded himself whistling to show how Ichabod was trying to keep his composure even as the spooky sounds of the forest make him more and more hysterical. I do remember that scene very specifically. The ending of the original novel is more elusive than what we may think. After Ichabod's disappearance in the novel, an old farmer returning from a trip to New York tells everyone that Ichabod is alive and well and is a lawyer and a judge on the 10-pound court. The Dutch women in the village still insist he's been carried off by the Headless Horseman. So,
yeah.
So I believe this is your number one.
Yes.
I'm counting correctly?
Yes.
Okay. And I don't know if anyone's seen this movie or knows about this movie, but
oh my gosh. My husband and I, we watched that movie. I mean, we're really into it, you know, Bruce Willis and Haley Joel Osment in there, you know, and we're just following along, you know, and he's, Bruce Willis plays I guess a shrink in there. And if you're watching the movie, he appears to be divorced. That's the appearances you get. I'm trying to figure out how do I explain this without giving it away if you haven't seen it. And he's talking to this kid. Yeah, I see dead people. That's what this little kid says. And so he's talking with Bruce Willis, and he's explaining to Bruce Willis about all these dead people he sees and everything. And it really gets inside your head. And the bottom left panel there, he's with his mom in a car, and there's been an accident, and he said, I see dead people, and somebody died up ahead. Well, and his mom looks at him, well, how do you know? Because she's standing right beside me, and the camera pans over and you see her. It's like, oh shit, and I think she was riding a bicycle.
Yeah, that's the scene there in the left.
Yeah. And there's another scene. Tracy was actually saying one of the creepiest ones for him is he's in the house and he runs into the other little boy, and then he says, hey, you want to see my dad's gun collection? And so he starts to lead him towards his dad's gun collection, and the kid turns and the back of his head's blown out. So it's like, oh, great,
Yeah.
And Bruce Willis is always cold in the movie. He's always wearing sweaters and everything. And the end of the movie has a twist, and it's like you're watching, and you're like, oh my God, really? And that's all I can say. I can't tell you anymore. I mean, it's like, wow, it's a psychological thriller that gets in your head.
Richard,
and it's very easy.
I'm stunned there's not more gifts of this kid and Joe Biden. It really does. Is Haley Joe, is he like the bastard child of Joe Biden? I mean, it really does look like Joe Biden.
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good movie. It's definitely worth watching.
Some facts. Hopefully there's no, I don't believe there's any spoilers in here. The movie was a huge success, and until 2017's it was the highest grossing horror film of all time. Wow, I didn't know that. Wow. The term The Sixth Sense originated in the 1800s to describe paranormal sensations that cannot be explained through the five senses.
Wow.
The movie was released on August 6, 1999, and became the highest grossing movie of 1999 that didn't feature a character named Jar Jar Binks. Wonder what movie that was. But yeah, it's a good one. I haven't seen it in many years. I mean, once you see it once, to me, it's kind of like it's like I already know. So all right. So we're down to mine, and mine is going to be a lot of older movies, shockingly. Well, not really shockingly. But okay, I had to put this in here. You have to have Alfred Hitchcock on a Halloween movie stream, and definitely one with Anthony Perkins in it and a shower scene. As much as I don't like hack and slash, as much as I don't like that genre, I think this right here is the original hack and slash done right, where you have a character that's obviously disturbed, and dressing up as his mother. But beyond that, I try to watch this film much like someone that's never seen it. Every time that I've watched it, I go in, even though I know what the situation is, I try to go with that lens of, okay, I'm a new watcher. I'm watching this movie. And the movie very much starts like a money heist type of show with Janet Leigh running off with her boss's money to be able to be with her boyfriend who has to pay alimony payments to his ex-wife. And that's her looking her $40,000, which would have been about $700,000 today. Which I'm thinking, I'm looking at this $40,000 and thinking, I have more in my 401k than this woman's taking.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think that's very interesting to look at that way, because she doesn't actually die to 45 minutes into the movie. So at first you're thinking, this woman, she's on the run. She's really freaked out. She doesn't know like what she's going to do. She's regretting in a way of taking the money. Cop pulls her over. She's freaked out. So it starts raining. She has nowhere else to go. And where does she go is, of course, Bates Motel. And that house alone is just price of admission for me, because I would totally live in that house. Because I'm a weird person. But and she goes there and she meets obviously Norman, who's seems very nice, like a nice boy, just a really nice guy. And Officer, he feeds her. He talks about his mother and how, he could never put her away and this and that. And in between all that, she hears a conversation, what she perceives as his mother, when he goes to get food and whatever, saying basically that, how dare you bring that whore, into the motel? How dare you, don't bring this whore in my house. And so sounds like an old woman. And so she's obviously feels sorry for him. And obviously, he goes to bed, she gets in the shower, and then next thing you know, she's getting hacked and slashed. And it becomes a much more different type of film at that point, which I think is very interesting. And I like the way Hitchcock does that. He was a mastermind of just slow burns, and this is one of them. And Janet Leigh said later in life she could not take showers after filming that scene. So the rest of her life she took baths, and she was actually, if she did take showers, she would make sure the door was locked. She would make sure, precautions, shockingly, because it really traumatized her.
Wow.
And Anthony Perkins, of course, is just brilliant in this film, especially the last scenes where he's basically, spoilers, he's the killer. There's no mother. The mother was dug up. Yeah. So it's just really, especially in the last panel there, where he's in the office and he's asked for a blanket, and he does it in the mother's voice, which is creepy, but fabulous film, fabulous horror movie. I did watch the series too, and the series was very good, but it was definitely different. This is obviously the original, and it's the superior of all them. Even the sequels, which were definitely more bloody. But I don't know. Have you seen Psycho?
No, but I think when we were in California, back in the day, we went to Universal Studios or whatever, and I think we saw the Psycho house sitting up on the hill or whatever. Tracy's not here. I'd have to ask him, but
I would love that.
Like I said, I'm just not a huge horror fan, but so that was a black and white movie then? Why was I thinking it was color?
They did a Psycho 2, which was done in 1982 or 3, I believe. And shockingly, my mom was always a fan of Psycho. And so she rented it one time, and I chuckled under my breath going, I don't think you're going to get the same thing as the original Psycho. And was I right. No, this is the original, and there is blood, but it's very little. It's more of a thriller, and it's much more like, and it's just the scenes, the dialogue. It's just well made. Vera Miles is in this movie. She plays her sister that goes with the boyfriend to try to find the Marion Crane character played by Janet Leigh, and it is just a fabulous film. And Retro Doc is upset because I spoiled the movie. Well, it's made in 1960. If you haven't seen Psycho by now, I'm sorry. It's older than Doctor Who. So, yeah, if you haven't seen this movie, really watch it. It's a wonderful film. And I say wonderful in the same breath as a horror movie, but it's much more than a horror movie. It's Hitchcock at his best, in my opinion.
So probably a psychological thriller more than anything.
Yes. And there is some of that, but it's so good. And Anthony Perkins is amazing in this movie and charming in a really creepy way, but very charming. It was when he was very young and very charming.
I get Dark Shadow vibes actually looking at that. So yeah. Okay.
It's a warm and cozy film in a weird way. Like get your hot chalky and just sitting there and watch, like it's raining outside, watch Psycho. It's great. It's just it's a weird warm, fuzzy feeling. So the Bates Motel used the film still standing at Universal Studios in Los Angeles. I need to go there. The iconic shower scene took a week to shoot. Psycho's ending was spoiled months before the film's release. That stinks. Because that means that they didn't go in with my thought process, but maybe some did. Psycho was the first slasher film and revolutionized the thriller genre, and no one has done it. I mean, I will say Halloween is very close. Halloween and Psycho are probably the best hack and slash movies because it wasn't overdone at that point. Now it's just like Scream, and you have all these other ones, So the novel from which the film was adapted is loosely based on the notorious murderer Ed Gein. Like Norman Bates, Gein has a domineering mother to whom he kept a shrine and dressed in women's clothes. So it's kind of loosely based on Ed Gein. So this is the second Canadian movie on this list.
Huh. Okay.
And this is more sci-fi horror. And I was telling Jason the other night, because we're both fans of this movie, and Jason got me into this movie. This is Stranger Things for adults. And when I say Stranger Things for adults, I mean like the 11 story for adults.
Okay.
It's basically it starts out where you see this film playing, and it's this foundation that basically has learned to transcend, and they're into meditation and into doing drugs to become a better you, like Scientology, that type of kind of cultish. And you see the scene where this doctor called Dr. Nile, the bald guy, but he looks more like the guy on the right, is basically in the institute, and he's observing this young girl, and he's asking her how she's feeling and things like that. And you get a real creepy vibe from him. And you're definitely right. It's real. He's like, he's obsessed with this girl that he's treating. And it's a trip. When I say a trip, is the music is phenomenal. It's set in 1983. And this doctor makes the Matthew Modine character in Stranger Things look normal and, a good relationship, like a normal relationship, because he's obviously got some nefarious plans ahead for this girl. And one of the helpers, an older woman, sees a book, and it's obviously this real weird sexual, experimentation. And you learn later that basically he was a part of the experiments, by this Dr. Aboria, this is the Aboria Institute. And he was, he took some kind of he was put in some kind of black looking alien like goo. Okay. And he didn't turn out good. He came out kind of crazy. And the girl is the daughter of the head of the institute, and she was put in it too. So she has psychic ability. So she can move things. She's like 11. And it's just about her trying to get out of this place. And it's just a very cool vibe to it. It's a much more serious take on the Stranger Things kind of world, with 11 getting out of this institute. And yeah, it is a fabulous film. I have to say, it is an art piece. It's weird. I'm going to tell you it's weird.
Okay.
But it is the guy that actually made this, his name is Panos Cosmatos, and he's actually the son of the man that directed Tombstone. So basically he used his father's money from Tombstone to create this film.
Okay.
The film has been described as a throwback to the psychedelic science fiction of the 70s and early 80s that eschews story and character for mood, music, and very trippy visuals, but it is very well made. The girl, I don't think she even talks. I think she says one line in the whole movie. But it's very, it just gives you a cool sci-fi 70s vibe to it. And it is a horror movie. There's a few scenes of gore, but for the most part, it's much more like science fiction horror. It's not, over the top.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just, man, I can't say enough about this film. I wish there was I hope somebody sees it and watches it. So man, we could talk about it forever, but,
Gary's asking, yeah.
So you need to see the Black Room before you see Beyond the Black Room? No, it's Beyond the Black Rainbow, not Beyond the Black Room. No,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a line that he says to his wife later that basically after he went through this experiment, he saw beyond the black rainbow, which is like he saw other worlds. So it's got a real like paranormal, you know, like spacey kind of like, okay, did he see other worlds or what happened? What happened to you? But it's on Amazon Prime right now, and it is like just the music alone is just, and the aesthetics. It's a cool. It's got that alien kind of grittiness to it.
Okay.
That I like, but it's a Stranger Things for adults.
Okay.
So here's my third choice, and I know we've talked about this before. I don't know if you've ever seen this movie.
Mm-mm.
Another 1960. 1960 obviously was just a good year. The Village of the Damned, and I've been a fan of this movie for about the last 10 years. I caught it around Halloween time. It was when AMC was doing, no, it was TCM. I think they were doing some Halloween type movies, and I was flipping around and I just started watching this and I was like, I got hooked. Basically it's about a village in England called Midwich that at noon, everybody like on that that village just basically just conks out. That's men, women, children. They just pass out for 3 hours.
Huh.
And the doctor, played by George Sanders, like his brother-in-law, can't get in touch with him. So he's worried. So he works in the military. So he gets the military involved, and they can't figure out, like, when the cop walks across to get to the people in the bus who are like all asleep, they're crashed, why, he passes out. So they're doing all these experiments. And so after 3 hours, everybody wakes up, and they're shocked by this anomaly, like what they can't understand. And then not too long at that, all the women start going into the doctor, and they find out they're pregnant, even virgins, even girls. And this girl's like, I've never been with any. I'm like, this can't have possibly happened. And so, but the babies are growing at a rapid rate. Wow. And so they're born, and they're born with all, like, even the doctor's wife, like he has a child named David, and he's not even sure if that's his kid, because it's I mean, he doesn't think she cheated. He just doesn't, this is weird. And they're highly intelligent, and they all have blonde hair, and they're just like, they're like, they can read minds. They can figure out puzzle boxes. And it's just like the whole town has become just, basically under their power. It's like, there's some really creepy things of how they take out people, and they control them. And the acting is great, superb. Like when one of the guys that he was upset at first because he thought his wife was cheating on him because he hadn't been with her. He wants to get rid of them because he knows they're not normal. And so he has a gun, and obviously the doctor and his wife and I think his brother-in-law is there, and David and his friends stop them. Wow. And then he puts the gun to his head and blows it off, but you don't see anything, but you see their expressions, and it's a fabulous movie, and that's what they look like. And obviously the ending is very like harrowing and very well made, and it's a really great movie. And it's one of those that just sucks you in. And don't watch the remake. I've tried several times. I can't get through it. It's terrible. But this is just a really good film, and I'm sure other people are gonna agree. Village of the Damned is brilliant. I can't remember watching it years ago, and it's stuck in my mind ever since. So have you? You obviously haven't seen this.
Mm-mm. No.
Another good one. 1960.
Okay.
Yeah, even the animals go down. Peter Harrington's right. Yes, they do. Retro Doc says Village of the Damned, i.e. Washington, D.C. Yeah, and they're trying to control people. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man. Okay.
And this wasn't on any of my streaming services, so I don't know. Maybe you guys have a copy or sail the seas, whatever you need to do. I do know it's on Internet Archive.
Okay. Okay.
Psycho and Internet Archive, where I'm both on Internet Archive, and another one on my list is on Internet Archive too.
Okay.
But Beyond the Black Rainbow is on Prime. So If you have Prime, give it a watch. It's a little weird, I'll be honest, but this one is also a brilliant film. I agree, Peter. So the film is based on the novel The Midwich Cuckoos by John Wyden. The film was controversial for its dealing with subject of demonic virgin births. I don't know if it was demonic, but I guess. Yeah, because she was like, I've never. And they were like, well, some happened. The film's eerie atmosphere, gripping storyline, and memorable performances have made it a cult favorite among horror movie enthusiasts. Movie stars George Sanders, Barbara Shelley, Martin Stevens, and Michael Gwynn. A sequel, Children of the Dam, was released in 1963, and a 1995 remake of the original starred Christopher Reeve. And Christopher Reeve plays the Doctor in the remake. But if you can get through it, great. I can't. I've tried several times.
Okay,
and I can watch a lot of crap.
Only 77 minutes long. Wow.
Yes, it's not a long movie, and but I just remember being enamored with it, and I still am.
Okay.
I still enjoy it. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot in that 77 minutes, though.
Okay.
It's like a Twilight Zone episode, a longer Twilight Zone episode.
Okay.
From it. All right. So I started rewatching this movie this morning. I didn't get through it. Not because it's scary, just because I didn't have time.
Ran out of time, yeah.
I've watched this movie a lot, and I know a lot about the whole real story, and I know a lot about the Ronald DeFeo murders, because I'm a true crime, fanatic. So this movie, when I was young, and just from the music alone, with the children in the background singing, it's enough to give me nightmares. But I think that I haven't seen the remake. Don't want to. This is the movie I remember as a kid being terrified by. Particularly because the scene with the priest in the beginning, the priest goes in to bless the house. They're all out having fun. They just bought this house, right? They're out on the water having fun, and they forgot the priest was coming. How can you forget a priest is coming? I don't know. Anyway, the priest walks in. How rude. But he walks in, and he's going up there to do his blessings or whatever, and he goes up to a certain room, and of course the flies happen. And the scene that always gets me is the get out scene. That to me is the most frightening scene in the whole entire movie, because seeing a holy man like that freaked out, like that gets me, because it's some bad mojo shit. And so he obviously the get out, and he runs out of the house, and he tries to call her, and he gets another attack. Just he holds the phone, and the phone's burning in his hand and everything. And this movie is terrifying. And I'm going to say this right now. Lorraine Warren, who actually investigated she said that this was the most evil house that she ever walked into of all the cases. And Ed and Lorraine had investigated. This was the worst.
Wow.
And she said that actually Ed had almost died. And which they don't talk about any of them in the movie, but she said this movie doesn't even touch the evil and the things that happened. This was light, the walls bleeding and all that was light compared to actually what really happened. So it is a very, this couple, George Lutz and Kathy Lutz, they just got married. She's got kids. They move in. Everything's happy. And then slowly they start noticing it's cold. It's, it's some cold spots. And then, George starts acting up. He starts chopping wood very creepily there. And he just gets very kind of out of it and things. And the walls start bleeding. And then, priests don't want to come in. I think her aunt, who was a nun, doesn't want to come in the house. And so it's just a lot of that 70s Satan horror that was very prominent back in the day, but it's still a good watch. It really is. I did watch it a couple years ago, and it's still got the very creepy vibe without being overly gory. It's not a gory movie. It's at all. It's actually more like a psychological, watching this couple and these kids go from happy people to fleeing for their home in 30 days after buying it. A beautiful home.
Okay.
So, and whether you think of it's real or the real story is real or whatever, it's, even if you don't believe in the real story, I personally think there was something going on, but other people don't. Isn't a still enjoyable horror movie that isn't overly gory. It's just very creepy and kind of horrifying in a way that, you're not even safe in your own home. And I think that's why it kind of stands up in my list as one of the best.
Yeah, Gary's asking, is that the house next door to the Poltergeist house?
It should be. There should be a street with Psycho House. Then you got Amityville. And then you got the Poltergeist house. What other houses that are really bad? The House from House. Just
Oh, might as well have, like Peter said, and the Munsters 2 doors down. Well, don't forget the Addams family.
Reprieve. Everybody wants to go to the Munsters house because it's happy. It's normal and happy at the Munsters house. Don't go down to the Lutz's house. That's the Lutz or the Psycho house. Yeah, don't go there.
Wow.
Or the Conjuring house around the corner. It's a good film though, and I know it's been said many times. People watched a lot. Don't watch the sequels or the remakes or any of that. The sequels were just ridiculous. This is it, and 1313 Mockingbird Lane is the Munsters address. So, and the Addams family, the Addams family and the Munsters are the most normal families on the block. The rest of them are insane, psycho killers, and people possessed.
Man,
quite fun. Due to the unwanted fame the book and film had brought upon the real house in Amityville, the current owners have replaced the evil eyes windows with normal rectangle-shaped windows. And I was shocked at that because, I'm not shocked. I was disappointed actually because I looked at real pictures and it's it doesn't seem as evil. It just those windows.
Yeah.
Man, I bet those windows just became real. The sales on those types of windows when this movie aired went down.
Wow.
Put those on your house, and no one's gonna buy because those are evil eyes.
Oh, and Joe Biden's house. John says in Joe Biden.
Put it on the White House where he's at, for his room. And speaking of Joe Biden, 1968's Pray for Rosemary's Baby, which I'm wondering if maybe there's a correlation, but who knows. Have you ever seen this film?
No, but I think I've heard of it. So
yeah, Mia Farrow. I can't remember her name. She was in Harold and Maude as well, but she was also in another Psycho Biddy movie that I like as well, and I can't remember the name of that movie either. Shocking. But yeah, this is not a real gory movie either. It's more or less it's this couple move into this apartment. She finds out not too long after she's pregnant. She's having weird dreams about this weird creature on top of her, doing God knows what. And then she ends up pregnant, and then she slowly starts feeling sick. She just doesn't feel, like she wants raw meat. It's okay, she's obviously something going on with the pregnancy. And then the older lady on the right, she's fabulous. I don't remember her name right offhand. I can't believe I can't remember her name. But they're an older couple, and they kind of took her under their wing, and they're just, oh, you're just so wonderful. And they all, and she loves the husband and everybody. And they give her this necklace, and the necklace just smells horrible. And so she just doesn't want to wear it. And they keep wanting her to wear this necklace and do all these things. And there's this weird death that happens with one of the tenants there. And it's just this odd things. And she just notices, these odd noises in the apartment and just them doing odd things. And so she starts getting really suspicious, and she comes to the conclusion that, they're devil worshipers, because that's what the first thing you're going to think, right? When the people do weird things in a building, they're devil worshipers. That's the answer. Well, she's not wrong, folks. And so it's a slow burn of their paranoia. Again, not a gory movie. Very well made. Very well. I actually read the book. The book's really good too. The book was written by Ear 11. It's a great book, and the movie is just, again, it's a very, very slow. It is, and again, not gory. There is a gory movie on my list though, but this isn't it. So if you're not into gore and you just want some kind of psychological movie, Mia Farrow is great in this movie. It's in the end will freak you out for the rest of your life.
Oh, shit, thanks.
Okay. It will. But only because of her expression and what's being said, obviously, and just how normal that they think all of this is. That's what the creep factor is. And Ruth Gordon, thank you. And I don't know why I can't remember her name sometimes, but yeah, she's fabulous in this movie, as well as the man that plays her husband in it. And it's just, wow. It's a classic because it's just good. And again, it isn't gory. So if you don't like that, this is for you. I recommend don't watch the last scene when it gets dark.
Okay.
Because it will just be the last thing you're thinking of when you're laying in bed. It's not gory. It's just the last thing you're thinking about. And they try to make a sequel of this. Whatever Happened to Rosemary's Baby. I tried to watch it. No. So the film was released on June 12, 1968 by Paramount Pictures and was a box office success, grossing over $30 million in the United States. The original novel makes it clear that the meat in question was not actual liver. Yeah, it was like she was eating liver. Like she would eat raw liver. And I was just like, So the film deals with themes related to paranoia, women's liberation. I didn't get that. Christianity, Catholicism, and the occult. It's a good movie about witches that worship the devil, and they live in New York in a fancy apartment with Mia Farrow. So
then moved to Washington, D.C.
Yes, they all did. And their baby was born, and now he's the president.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to kind of bring it back to not so despair movies, because we've been on a track of just, okay, this is despair. Not that this isn't despair, but this is a much more fun, or much more a little bit lighter. So I like this episode called "It's the Great Pumpkin," Sam Winchester. And why I like it is they use Halloween, the spirit of Samhain, which is Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
He basically, he's coming back to raise the dead, which it's one of their 7 seals. Obviously the 7 seals, you don't want to break them, right?
Right.
You don't want to break the 7 seals. And he's one of the 7 seals. And obviously, of course, he's got to come back as some kind of high school teacher. Of course. And so that's what he does. And of course, the witch that worships him is a gorgeous girl that obviously is killing all her classmates. My favorite scene in the whole episode is the pile of candy wrappers in the Impala that Dean has decided to he's going to enjoy Halloween no matter what the fuck is going on. Dean's going to eat his candy. And obviously he's still looking for that golden ticket. So it's a fun episode. It's not it's just the Winchester brothers actually just fighting Samhain, which is the spirit of Halloween. And it's fun. It's not, it's an actual Halloween episode. It's not my favorite, but I had to put it on the list because I felt okay, this is what Halloween is. I mean, they have a girl, she dies, because she's doing the apple dunk, and the apple turns out to be acid.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, stuff like that. It's just a fun, kind of an urban legend style episode that I enjoyed.
Yeah, Gary said, "I've never heard of this show. Sounds weird."
Yeah, right. Misha Collins, who plays the character Castiel, appears in his 4th episode and has earned his place as a semi-regular. The episode features a secret test of character. Not even Castiel knows if Dean has passed it. So basically, Dean has to be a certain type of person to defeat a certain part of this, killing of Samhain. So that's what that's about. The episode also features a sexy whatever outfit. I have no idea what this is about. Worn by teen girls dressed in Halloween costumes. Okay.
Probably tight t-shirts.
Yeah, probably. The episode features some gruesome deaths, but the best parts come from the characterization of the characters, which is excellently written. Yes, I agree. It's well done. It's fun. Yes, there's some gore, but it's not over the top. But honestly, this is probably my favorite Halloween supernatural episode ever, because it features Dean Winchester and Lederhosen. Who's Dean Winchester and Lederhosen? Sign me the fuck up, because I'm there, right? So, and it actually stars Todd Stashwick, who was also in the season 3 of Picard. If you guys recognize it, and it's about a shapeshifter that basically he's decided to live his life like shapeshifting into iconic movie monsters. So already I'm like, yes, let me watch this. And not only that, it's the whole thing was in black and white, which is perfect. So as you can see, there's Dean Winchester and Lederhosen. And it takes place in Oktoberfest, which is obviously one of the greatest holidays ever. Beer and babes, which Dean Winchester loves, and it's just fun. And they're investigating this in this town, and I believe when they go up to ask, I think that one of their names is Angus Young. I think it's in the trivia. They always give rock and roll names, and like I think I'm Agent Young, and this is so and so or Johnson or something from AC/DC, and it's just a fun episode. It's like he faces the mummy. They face the mummy, a werewolf, and obviously Dracula. And Dean gets taken, and obviously the girl there gets taken as the Mina character. But it's just fun. Like I like the way they did the name, and they tried to make it like a monster movie, which is what it's called, and it's just good old fashioned fun. I mean, there's some gore, but it's all in black and white, and you see Todd Stashwick running away in a Dracula costume on a one of those motorized scooters, like the little scooters. Yeah, it's hilarious. So fun. It's a fun episode. So Sam introduces the brothers to the sheriff as FBI agents Angus and Young. Angus Young is the lead guitarist of AC/DC and a band whose music often features throughout the series. The episode features classic movie monsters such as Dracula, Wolfman, and Mummy, and they're all revealed to be the work of the shapeshifter. The episode found humor in all the old movie tropes, such as the vampires hating garlic on their pizza. So yeah, it's just a really, really fun episode. And I personally if I feeling like down, it's Halloween time, I'll put it on because it's fun.
Okay.
That's why, So Peter Harrington says, if you ever get a chance to watch Bottom, Rick Mayall, and A. Edmondson on Halloween episodes, it's crack and laugh. Okay. Whoa, what's the name of this episode again? Monster movie? It's not Dean Winchester and Lederhosen. That's not what it's called. So just so you know, look it up. Don't look for Dean Winchester and Lederhosen. Okay, so here's a movie that I put it after Supernatural for a reason. I don't know if you've ever seen this movie.
No.
But it has Bill Paxton and Matthew McConaughey. Bill Paxton is the father in this movie. Matthew McConaughey is the grown son in the movie. Okay. And the movie is basically about a religious man, Bill Paxton, who basically has an epiphany, and he claims that he can see demons in people. So you know where this is going.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Oh boy.
So right. So Powers Booth is in this movie, and Powers Booth is after the Matthew McConaughey character or one of the brothers. Okay. I won't give it away because there's a twist. But he's after one of them for murders that have taken place. And it's a very and so basically the Bill Paxton character is like the Jeffrey Dean Morgan character in Supernatural, where he raises his son to believe that there's other things out there that are evil that need to be taken out, because God, wants you to. And it's just a very good burn. And one of the sons is very rebellious, and one isn't. So it's just just the twist at the end is worth the price of admission. And it's not an incredibly gory movie from what I recall. It's been about a year since I've seen it, but I didn't recall anything like, wow, that's over the top. But
Okay.
It is a very good movie, and it's one of those underrated movies, and Bill Paxton is great in this movie. And of course, Matthew McConaughey is great, but the kids are great too. The kids that they got. And I always love these kind of shows with kids in them. Like it shows them when they're younger, and it's like there's a whole story arc with them being younger, and then it kind of flips back and forth. And it's one of those.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody else has seen this movie, but it's definitely worth watching, and it's definitely once you watch it. I have a friend, like I have a Facebook friend, and she's like, her husband, walked in and says, "You watching that Frailty again?" I'm like, okay, but it's got Matthew McConaughey in it, right there. So it's a good one, and it's not overly like. I mean, yes, the content is a little deep, but the ending is just worth it. It's so worth it. The film was actually directed by Bill Paxton, who also starred in it as the father. The movie explores the long-lasting effects of childhood trauma and sheds light on the psychological scars it can leave behind. And it really does that well. The film received positive reviews from critics and audiences, and both critical and commercial success. So the film stars Matthew McConaughey as Fenton Meeks, who tells the story of his father's crimes to an FBI agent played by Powers Booth, and Powers Booth is good in it too.
Wow.
Powers Booth is good in a lot of things.
He is.
Tombstone. So this is considered a horror movie, actually. I don't know if you've ever seen this.
No, Betty Davis. Oh my word.
Betty Davis, Joan Crawford, too.
Wow.
What I like about this movie is I like the feud surrounding it a lot, because they hated each other, like extremely hate each other. And so what the movie is about a child star named Baby Jane Hudson. And I guess you can probably guess who Baby Jane Hudson is, who was basically a popular like vaudeville singer and performer back in the early 1900s, like 1917. Okay. And the Joan Crawford character named Blanche is her sister, who eventually becomes a star later on. And she's like one of those like Joan Crawford stars that was very popular. And her star definitely is surpasses the Baby Jane Hudson's star later, because she tries to, basically be in movies, and she wants to be an adult star. Mm-hmm. I mean, not adult star, but a grown-up star.
Yeah.
Okay. So at the beginning of the film, you kind of see like them as young, and obviously Baby Jane's a big brat. She's a complete brat. Mm-hmm. And you see that what you perceive as the Blanche character getting hit by basically a car, and her spine is basically severed, and she's paralyzed. So at this point, she loses her career, but Baby Jane is in their older age that she takes care of her. Well, Baby Jane is a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, because she's still living in the past and is very jealous of her sister. So the maid leaves for the day, and then just chaos ensues, where she's angry because the Joan Crawford character is selling the house. She's not happy. So she wants to get back at her, and she starts doing these horrible things. And it just continues down that road of just murder and all kinds of crazy things that happen. But what is interesting about this film is that the scenes where Betty Davis is actually kicking Blanche, which is Joan Crawford, she was really kicking Joan Crawford because she hated her.
Golly.
I mean, she hated her. Also, the makeup was Betty Davis's idea, because she felt like this is what a old used up child star would be like. They would just just never wash their face and just keep putting makeup on it.
Okay.
And yeah, she got a big kick out of driving around when she was doing the driving scenes and people looking at her and being freaked out. So they're both fabulous in this movie. They hated each other, but it worked because that's what this movie needed.
Yeah.
And obviously the Joan Crawford character is the sympathetic character, but again, twist at the end, and it's really good. And actually, features Vincent, I think it's Bruno from Batman, the 1960s Batman, who played King Tut. He's in this movie as well.
I know who you're talking about.
Yes,
I do know who you're talking about.
He plays what she thinks is a suitor, but he's just trying to get a job playing piano because she sings these really like songs from 1917, like I Sent a Letter to Daddy. It's just really, it's so camp, but it's so much fun, and I really recommend it. It's really great, and look at the feud behind it is just awesome. Like they did make a show called Feud, which I did watch, about Betty Davis and Joan Crawford, and Jessica Lange played Joan Crawford, and Betty Davis is played by Susan Sarandon, and they did a great job. So the film was originally going to be shot in color, according to Betty Davis in her book, This and That. The movie explores themes of jealousy, obsession, and effects of fame and family trauma. So, yeah, basically, Betty Davis had gone on the circuit to promote the movie, and she said something like, "Oh, we're doing pretty good for two old broads." Joan Crawford wrote her a letter and says, "Can you please do not refer to me as an old broad." So she sent a letter just to tell her that. So they had a lot of back and forth that I don't know. I just enjoy. It's just a lot of catfighting and it showed in the film, and it worked. And it's a great show. It's campy, but I don't care. It's great.
Wow.
My mom loved this. French and Saunders do a brilliant take on this great movie. Yeah, I would like to see that. I don't think I've ever seen that take, but that'd be great. But it's definitely worth watching. Okay, I think this is the last one. I'm not sure, but I think this is my last one. And mine are not in order in any way. But I just watched this the other night, and I'm like, first of all, something you should know about me. I find octopuses or any kind of squid terrifying. I don't like tentacles. I don't like any of that stuff at all. I don't. To me, this is a true horror movie, because if I'm scared of it, it's horror. I don't know if that makes sense. Like,
so tentacle porn is out. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Okay. So this is another Canadian film that's fabulous. It's gory. Okay. I will tell you, it is very gory. It's more sci-fi. It's definitely one of the best. I wouldn't say it's based on a Lovecraft story, but it is got so much symbolism of Lovecraft. And this is the set part 2 of the Stranger Things for adults. And I mean, adults.
Okay.
It basically takes place on just a regular night in this town. And this officer is just, on duty, and he starts seeing, a guy in the street. He comes out, he's all scratched up, and he's like, so he takes him to the hospital, but the hospital is kind of like a ghost, not a ghost hospital and a ghost, but it's kind of like it had a fire. So a lot of the staff isn't there. So there's kind of just like very, very little help there. And his wife works there, and they've lost a child. So they're kind of going through some stuff. And he brings the guy in, and, it's just a normal, like, okay, let's sedate him. He won't tell us what happened to him. And so he goes outside, and he sees these people standing out here like this on the right-hand side of this picture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's like, what is going on with it? So he goes outside, and one of them stabs him. So he goes back in. Yeah. And he goes back in, and it's like, okay. And he passes out, and his wife obviously stitches him back, and he comes back, and he's just freaked out. And then, he goes outside because one of the nurses kills one of the patients. And so he's going out there to call it. And so he shoots her. So he's just really freaked out. So that's why he went outside, and that's how he got stabbed. So all of a sudden, the nurse in the room that he shot has got some weird ass tentacles coming out of her eyes and mouth. And I'm like, oh no. Hell to the no. Or the nah. You know what I mean? Oh no. And so eventually the nurse turns into something. I don't know what it was. I don't know if her butt was on her head. I don't know. It was some weird creature with tentacles, and that's all I know. And yeah, and so from then on, it's just this whole hospital becomes open door to all kinds of just like, it's like Cthulhu's coming out. And I'm seriously, Cthulhu's coming out, you know, the old ones. This is definitely H.P. Lovecraft. This is totally, I mean, we've got, you know, and so there's some people in that place that are not on the up and up too. You got a pregnant girl, and you got, you know, a doctor that gets killed, but yeah, there's just a lot of twists and turns, and I don't want to reveal anything because there's a big twist probably in the middle of the movie where you learn that not everybody's who they seem to be, and it's just very, very much like, you know, a lot of octopus tentacles, Lovecraft, you know, they're calling the dark ones the old ones. It's very much like that. So if you like Lovecraft, this is one for you. And if you like Stranger Things and that whole upside down kind of world, because there's an upside down world in this. And this came out before Stranger Things, I think. So did you copy Duffers? Because this is more intense. And I will say there is some gore, but I also will say I praise these people because that scene you see right there where all the tentacles are coming out, that was all practical effects. That is not CGI. 99.9% of this movie is CGI. Not CGI, but practical effects. There's only one scene at the end. So, man, though, it's a trip. Like, what happens in this hospital, you're like, you know what? My thing is like, the beginning of the movie, he had a chance to take this guy to another hospital. And all I'm thinking, and I'm watching this movie is, man, I bet you wish you went to that other hospital, even though it was 20 extra minutes.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, crazy movie, but very well done. And it's got a 5.9 stars. I don't understand. It's a 9, solid. And I will say, I'm surprised I didn't have nightmares after watching this movie the second time. Because, yeah. And when that guy on the very end of the first picture at the bottom.
Yeah.
That very Vecna vibe.
Yeah. That's, I guess, what I'm thinking of, because I'm looking at that and I'm like, I've seen that image like that before. And then, okay.
Yeah. And that guy makes Vecna look like, man, I walk in the park, man. That nuts ain't the word. And because that thing there was a human. He was human. He was one of the doctors, and just, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. If you die in that hospital and you've been infected with whatever they've infected you with.
Yeah.
Tentacles. No, not my thing, but I mean, it's my thing, but that one thing you want to scare me with, just put some tentacles in there coming out of people's noses and eyes and stuff. And that.
Yeah.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. But The Void, insert Biden joke of your choice. Yeah, definitely. The Void is a Canadian Lovecraftian horror film written and directed by Stephen Kotansky and Jeremy Gillespie and produced by Jonathan Bronfman and Casey Walker. The movie stars Aaron Poole, Kenneth Welsh, Daniel Fathers, Catherine Rowe, who is also on Supernatural. Jeez, I'm like one of those people like, yeah, they're on Supernatural. And Ellen Long, who's also on Supernatural and Dark Matter. And she played the Japanese, oh God, you know, the girlfriend that the ex-girlfriend of 3. Yeah,
3.
I can't remember. Okay. Yeah, the evil one. She played in this too. The Void was a crowd-funded project. The movie features real effects created by the team behind the movie, with hardly anything in the film being CGI.
Wow.
The Void received positive reviews from critics and many citing comparisons to horror films from the 1980s. The movie was made with a budget of over $82,510 and grossed $377,624 worldwide. The Void is worth watching for its practical effects, which are impressive and disturbing, and they are disturbing. Just saying.
Wow. Man.
And that is our list.
Yeah. I do have a shout out. No. Intrigued actually with some of them. I wrote down Village of the Damned and Beyond the Black Rainbow. I'll have to look for those.
Beyond the Black Rainbow is a trip band, but it's good.
When I saw your title, Frailty, I was actually thinking The Faculty. That is another creepy one. Robert Patrick's in that one. And then one I was telling you about the other day called Level 16. That is wild. It goes alongside.
I did look it up a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of, reminds me of how you were describing Beyond the Black Rainbow. You've got these girls and they're in this school and they're being, shaped, and they can only be pure girls, and it's freaky and creepy, and it'll creep you out with the methods. And I can't say anything more because it'll give it away. Look it up. Right. I think it's on Prime.
I did a little bit, but I definitely will check it out because I like that type of style. I like that,
Yeah. Tracy and I, we watched it and it's like, ew, yeah. So,
well, that is our list.
You enjoyed it. Yeah.
And I'm glad everybody enjoyed it. I hope everybody enjoyed our list. There's some good ones in there, and go. Everybody enjoy their Halloween, and we got some time now, so you can watch some of our picks. But that's all. That's all we got. I've got to go head out to get my massage.
Yep, and I'm heading out with my youngest son, and we're going to go watch Five Nights at Freddy's.
And you'll report back next week with a review.
Yeah.
All right.
So Sounds we'll good. See. So like, subscribe, and share.
Yep. All right, guys.
All right, guys.
It's been fun. It's been real. Bye.
Bye.